We can have a second chance. We know this because we've had them before. We've wasted them before. But now, if only we could have one more, no matter what we've done, we can have. And no matter what we've done, we deserve another second chance.
You can have a second chance. Maybe you've already had one, or even a whole handful. It's a pivotal moment in your life where you are faced with a choice to keep going down the road you are on or change directions. See, God writes your life script. I kept trying to mess mine up, so He kept giving me second chances till I got it right. He's God. He wouldn't have a plan for your life and not give you the chance to execute it. We are human beings. We make mistakes. The second chance is our recovery moment because we need to accomplish something positive. Sometimes I think He just wants to give us a break. It's also a place marker. You can look back and see why you are behaving so differently. I didn't understand mine for a long time. I was an evil person who was given all sorts of second chances. But here's the thing. We all have the same importance to God. He wanted to save me. Yes, He had plans for me to become the man I am today and to help all the people I help. But first off, He just wanted to save me. That's who He is.
Every chance that you get, you work it as if it's your last one. Every time you get a break in your life, every time God opens up a window, you walk through that window as if there's never going to be another door, there's never going to be another window, that this is the last time, because you never know what's going to happen. So yes, I believe in second chance after second chance, but I think that you can put yourself in a position where you just come to the end of them yourself. People give up on themselves.
So how do we make sure that our next second chance is the last one we will ever need? How do we not give up on ourselves? Number 1, realize the need.
After a long court battle and everything, and ended up in prison, I got a tattoo on my back, and the tattoo said "Unforgiven." And it's across my back to this day. And I remember getting it thinking that I could never be forgiven. I had gone all the way to the max. Like, I didn't stop. I went all the way and did the ultimate thing. And that I could never be forgiven from that. Nor could I forgive myself or other people forgive me or society or what have you.
Part of realizing we need a second chance is accepting this fact. We need to do things differently. The old way is what got us here. The old way is why we need another chance.
What would happen for me, like, I would get these chances to do well, and the thing that always led me back to that lifestyle was getting heavy, like my weight, and getting lonely would be triggers for me to, I can just go to the bar and hang out. And, drinking was never a problem for me. It was the drugs, and I could rationalize in my head that because I wanted to have community, bad or good, that my loneliness was a reason for me to go back. And so I would, go to the bar or go hang out in places I knew that I didn't belong. And then I would start seeing people that I knew and end up right back making bad decisions again. It always happened really quick. So my good intentions without a plan for what a solid, positive second chance would look like always ended me back up at the bar and back up in a bad relationship and back up in trouble pretty fast.
Old habits die hard. we go back to what we know. Especially if we don't know what else to do.
Got one job, got laid off, got another job, got laid off. And I was discouraged. Went back into the drug dealing business. Got connected with a Mexican cartel on the west side of St. Paul, started getting bigger amounts of cocaine, me and a buddy of mine. And, did that for a while. The cocaine ran out, and so I started getting cranks, ounces of crank. And, the connections were always convenient for me. It was, friends of family and this and that. It was easy to get, and I was justified again because I lost my job.
We go back to what we know, especially if we are desperate.
I decided a good idea to sell drugs again because I could make money. Because after I kicked the boyfriend out, I didn't have his income any longer. And then I stopped receiving child support from my son's dad. So I was really kind of in dire straits. And me being the person that I am, I know how to make money. I can go and make money fairly quickly. So I decide I'm going to do that.
I have 7 felony convictions, 32 misdemeanor convictions. I was addicted to crack cocaine for 20 years. I've been homeless, I've been to prison, and I was an absentee father for 17 years. How does one get 39 convictions? Well, I'll tell you this, it wasn't easy.
I didn't show up. I was at the crack house. I could not walk in that blessing. I still didn't believe I deserved it. Yeah.
I feel like now, looking back on it, it needed to run its course. I needed to fall down and bump my head hard enough to understand not only that I needed a second chance, but that I was worth a second chance. And that took a long time to get there.
Number 2, recognize a second chance when you see it.
And I got my girlfriend pregnant. And I ended up moving in with her and her mom. And, I wasn't faithful to her. I remember sleeping around. I remember, at the same time in the back of my head, I thought that I'm gonna have to get kind of responsible now. And I was trying to keep my nose clean for the most part. I was just getting high at home most of the time. And my daughter was born in 2000, February 5th of 2000, and it was a new day for me. I had a whole new sense of being and a new purpose to be there for my daughter.
Second chances always come, but often in ways we wouldn't expect. At first glance, a second chance might look more like a problem.
I got a letter of eviction or no, not eviction. They were not going to be renewing my lease. And so that meant I had to find a place to live. And I did. I just started looking for a place. I came across a place in Robbinsdale. I had no idea how I was going to pay the rent. It was above my means. But I thought, it's in a part of town where my kids are. And I knew that they loved that part of town and they would gravitate towards me. And so I got David to come and live in the lower level. And then slowly after that, Devin came home. I was getting Destiny on the weekends. And Dylan was still with my brother. So slowly, God started repairing each and every relationship. My sister, who is very responsible, ended up homeless for 30 days just because she was waiting in between places. So she had to come and stay with me, and we got to mend our relationship during that 30 days. And just one by one, my relationships began to be restored.
At first glance, A second chance might look more like a punishment.
And they have 6 felonies against me. I walked out of court that day, and I knew that life had come to an end at that point. I was so sick of being chased. I was so sick of looking over my shoulder. But I knew something was, I knew everything was changing.
And he said, and I'm going to tell you a story about a young man that I had, and I'll say Mr. Davis was his name. And he said, Mr. Davis came in and out of my courtroom for 22 years. And in and out of prison for 40 because he couldn't obey the rules. He just could not go to his probation officer. He could not have a clean UA. So he spent what would have been a 2-year sentence of 40 years going in and out of prison because he couldn't obey the rules. So what I'm gonna do for you is I am going to have you execute all your probation time so that you never have to see your probation officer again because you don't obey the rules and I like you. Well, I was like, you like me? That's almost 3 years and la, 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 la. Huh, what do you mean you like me? I mean, I'm gonna be away from my family. He's like, yeah, we tried that one. Tried to keep you close to your family. Did what we could, sent you to Volunteers of America. You couldn't comply. And so I cried and I weeped and I cried and I weeped and he stuck to it. And that was the 3rd time I went to prison. And that's what stuck.
Other times, they're pretty hard to miss. Sometimes, second chances look a lot like miracles.
2002, Memorial Day, I got my 3rd DWI going 110 miles an hour, and I literally catapulted my car. I went through the windshield. I went down into a ditch and hit a driveway bridge, and the back end came right up over, and I went through the windshield. I should not have lived through that experience. The paramedics told me 99.9% of the people in that position would have died. I remember being flown in a helicopter to Fargo. They were going to put pins in my neck. They thought my neck was broken in 2 spots. And I had a wake-up call. I remember by the grace of God, I walked out of that hospital 3 days later. I had a compression fracture in my mid-back, three fractures in my neck. I had 3 broken ribs. I had just all sorts of road rashes, and it was nasty. It was pretty bad. I was stuck on the couch for about 6 months.
Mother's Day of 2003, I called home and wished my mom a happy Mother's Day. And she said, Gina, the kids are back home. The adoptive family decided after like 10 months of having adopted my beautiful please and thank you kids, that it wasn't God's plan for their life to be parents. And at that moment, in that little tiny box in the phone call room at Shakopee, my heart broke. It really felt like God reached down out of heaven and hit the reset button on my life. And so it was, in a moment, like a light switch turning on, that I saw myself differently.
Even my probation officer said there's absolutely no way that she should go to Teen Challenge. The judge told me, I'll see you, and when I do, you're gonna do the full 128 months in prison, and you're gonna pay a $1 million fine. He also said no one ever gets over a meth addiction. Well, I did, and here I am.
Number 3, no, it won't be easy. Getting second chances isn't the hard part. The world is filled with kind people, and God never gives up on His children. The hard part is making them stick.
When I got out, it was a struggle. There's always a struggle when you get out, because trying to find out where you belong, finding resources is really hard. And, I was a felon in trying to find a job, trying to find, housing, trying to find, come from the ground up, with nothing, and get bring myself up. And I struggled with that.
We may know we are different now, but the rest of the world may take a while to believe it.
You know, I remember my parents coming to pick me up from jail and seeing my kids and being able to hold my kids for the first time in a year. It was just an emotional, amazing experience, and my parents let me stay with them to get back on my feet. I had a newfound respect for my parents, just for life in general. You know, the Lord restored the relationship with my kids. You know, immediately got plugged into a church. Buried myself in church. Because the second I got out, I had all these people coming out of the woodwork that still wanted drugs from me, and, you know, asking if I could get them some dope, get them some meth, get them some weed. And, you know, I'd say, no, man, but you can come to church with me if you want. And they'd scatter like cockroaches in the light.
Number 4, keep moving forward. Once we decide we want a second chance, once we believe we deserve it, and once we've stepped toward it, we must keep moving into it.
What does it feel like to have peace? You know, you certainly don't have that when you are every day on a mission to find a way to get crack, smoke crack, do this, do that. You know, every day on a mission to find a way to manipulate and steal, and there's no peace in that. But I immediately was overcome with peace when I made that true commitment to walking in that second chance God gave me. 3rd, 4th, 5th, 20th, 100th chance he gave me.
Obstacles become opportunities when we are dedicated to making this second chance our last second chance.
Required community service hours. Don't just do the first thing that pops in your head. Something I did that I think helped me immensely was say, I want to do these 96 hours of community service in meaningful ways. So one thing I did was to get in touch with Breaking Free, who works with people who have been trafficked. And the other thing I did was get in touch with the Minnesota AIDS Project. And that started my career in public speaking. That started my work in the nonprofit field. I have a solid career now. I have people that value my past. Instead of looking and saying you have a felony, they say, you know what? You can relate with a lot of our clients that are going through stuff, so that's an asset. So, you know, keep trying.
Even though the telling is uncomfortable, our story, all those wasted chances, might be just what someone else needs to hear in order to change their story.
So when I look back at that former life, you know, just such criminality, dealing with, you know, stealing stuff. And I mean, I've stolen a few cars. I've, you know, the stuff that I used to do. And to look back then and to see myself now to where, you know, 10 years ago, I was a car thief. I was a drug dealer, a severe drug addict. And today, I got the keys to a giga church. You know, I have to smile. I laugh with some of my employees on the weekends when, you know, I'm escorting the offering, you know, bags of cash that people are donating to the church, and I'm the one that's carrying that to the safe and separating it and organizing it and putting it into bags. And I think, you know, it's just, God has a great sense of humor that he's entrusted me with all this, and it brings me to tears. You know, I share that with the ushers, and you know, I try to share that encouragement with everybody, that as a testimony to what God can do, and what he can do in the heart of somebody is nothing short of a miracle.
One time during a suicide attempt, you know, blood everywhere, I'm being hauled off in an ambulance. My son David, who was probably about maybe 9, walked in and witnessed all this. And when I'm being hauled away in the ambulance, David was yelling at the moon, you know, yelling at God probably. And so my mother told him this story to give him hope. The way the story goes is she was coming down the hallway with her basket of laundry. I was a little baby playing on my blanket. And she said all of a sudden she heard this voice from within her, not around her, but from within her. And the voice suddenly told her that I was going to hurt her really, really bad. And it scared her. And but the second part came, and the voice told her not to worry because it would only be for a short time, and then Jenny was going to help a lot of people. So she told this story to David after he was yelling at the moon, and she was walking him up and down the block and saying, I don't want you to worry about your mom, David, because there's a second part. The prophecy is your mom's going to help a lot of people. So, different times I'd go to treatment. David would call my mom, Grandma, is the second part of the prophecy here? I don't know, David. We have to wait and see. Well, when Breaking Free asked me to speak at their annual breakfast, which I thought was a breakfast at Embers, with like 5 people, and I open up the door to the hotel and there's 1,500 people and reporters and TV cameras and lawyers and policemen and all these people. Well, then my mom told me the story. And she said, this is your coming out, Jenny. So the second part of the prophecy is here. And I just got hopeful. It was 1,500 people I had to tell my story to. And I got this standing ovation and all these pieces of self-worth coming back when I was done. So that's why I keep telling my story.
No matter what we've done, we can have. And no matter what we've done, we deserve another second chance.